Futures and options on futures trading involve substantial risk and is not a suitable investment for all types of investors. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future results. When I use the word I in this video, it refers to what I teach in my charting course or what I author in my twice daily oral and written updates. Prices shown on charts and quote boards are in real time and take into account all known activity up to this point in time. And if you'd like to read more of this disclaimer, simply hit the pause key on your video player.
Good weekend all. Ira Epstein with your financial market video, and this is the weekend edition for Friday, the 18th of January 2019. We're at about 3:20 p.m. as I'm putting this out. And before you go anywhere, at the end of this video, I make you a special offer. I've never done this. This is the first time I did it, and we were overwhelmed. We did it yesterday, released it, and I think you'll want to see how, if you like these videos, I know you're going to love my morning subscriber video, how you can get into it. I mean, come on, I'm going to make it easy. All right, so what was the event of the day? By now you know that we started hearing about possibility of the U.S. wanting to reduce tariffs on China from Steve Mnuchin, our Treasury Secretary. And then all of a sudden today, great news comes out that now we're told that at the last meeting between the U.S. delegates and Chinese delegates in Beijing, China had presented an idea of how they can get rid of the trade deficit with the U.S. over a 5 or 6 year period. That may not be acceptable in the time length, but it's a big event because there's movement in the trade talks. Intellectual property certainly has to be discussed. That kicked the stock market, that news today, sharply higher, drove the dollar up as U.S. interest rate futures fell and real rates climbed a little bit on that news. You would expect that. And put pressure on the metal markets except copper, which obviously a trade deal would help to a degree China, wouldn't it? And they're the largest consumer of copper in the world. In addition, grains got a little bit of a bid. Believe it or not, chicken feet did too, because that's a big market that China used to buy from our poultry people, and they cut us off with the tariffs basically, and that may come back. I know it sounds funny, but it's very, very true. So when I look at the charts and we look at the S&P, from the correction that we had, 29.19, down to the recent low, we're coming back up. And as you know, on monthly or weekly or daily charts, I use the 18-period moving average. In this case, the 18-month, I'm expecting resistance shows at the 26.90 level. It doesn't have to, but often that's the case. You get to those numbers and you stall a bit. The monthly chart is nowhere near as sensitive, obviously, as the weekly and then the daily. When we get over to the weekly chart, you can see the market's getting a good rally. The 26.99 level is the next level of resistance. About 18, as they call it, a handle. A full point's called a handle in the S&P. And that's where I would expect to see some of the resistance. Now let's go back to the Fibonacci counts because they have not gone away. And you're going to hear on financial TV, person after person, the chart analysts talking about this. If you take a look, you've gone from the high to the low, and all you've done is come back into what I call a box. A box is what I call 38% retracement to the 50, and from the 50 to the 62% retracement. There's no magic in Fibonacci. It doesn't have to do things, but reactions get other reactions to it. And that's what this is about. So I will be very surprised to not hear traders say that this is an area that you should see lightening up in. Doesn't mean anything other than that's what I'm expecting. In terms of the overall trend, I realize it's a heck of a bounce, and you're going to say, Ira, the market just came from 23.16. How could you say that on the swing line it's still in a downtrend? And it's simple. When you look at a chart, if you're in a downtrend, I believe you get lower highs, lower lows. If you're in an uptrend, higher lows, higher highs. And no trend will have in some manner a higher high and a lower low. It can be the first one, then the second. It goes back and forth. You're still in a downtrend in this market. You've got that pattern until you get over the 28.14 level. I put moving averages then on. I want to see where you're at. What the market did is it started reaching up last week, and maybe, in fact, I'm sure I would have said, first resistance, probably the 100-day average if it can keep going, and if it goes after that, maybe the 18-week average. I said day, I meant week. And I have not changed my opinion in any manner. When I come over and I look at Bollinger Bands, what is a Bollinger Band? It's these black dashed lines that I've got on here. Markets will trade within them 95% of the time. That's how the algorithm is built. When the market exceeds the band, it's starting to get excessive one way or the other. Now, the simple fact is most markets that develop a trend come from somewhat sideways action. We haven't had a lot of that. You could argue some of this was right here, and then you broke out to the downside. This is a counter reaction to that. We'll see if we get the rally up there, and the market didn't want to spend much time 2 weeks under the lower Bollinger Band and came back. Not unexpected. In momentum, the momentum is still pointing higher. So what we have is a market that's got lower highs, lower lows. The bias is down because you're under the 18-week average, and I use the 18-week, 18-day, or 18-month as a bias indicator. Be over it, I'm upward bias, under it, bearish. And if I get to a lower Bollinger Band, if you're going to get a rally, I always look to see where's the closest main moving average. It was the 100, still a resistance point. You cleared it today, you could easily pull back to it next week, or the average right over it. Bearish pattern still there. In the NASDAQ, you got a 50% retracement from the high to the low. That's not that great. That's all that it is. Momentum is up. And if we look at this market, you're going to see you still have the swing lines down. I've marked them here, and I took the lines off it because I thought that the Fibonacci studies this week were more important than the swing line, but I left the arrows so you can see. You have lower highs, lower lows. You have not broke that pattern, even in this particular weekly chart. You're in that box where resistance in theory should show up, and you haven't even made a 50% retracement in the Russell, and it meets near that 50% zone at the 18-week moving average of closes. Therefore, it's a rally that the bears are still going to say, and that's what I expect to read over the weekend, while even with all the good going on, they wonder if this isn't the rally that they sell into. In the VIX, notice how the market's stuck against this 18-week average. That's what the market's doing. It's just playing around there right now. It got back into the range, the top part of the range of last year, and it's finding a little bit of support. That's about as good as I could say. There is no chart pattern that makes sense yet. You got a lower low and a higher high, bias down, momentum still pointing down. In the notes, you got up, as you can see, during the last 2 weeks, you got up over the upper Bollinger Band, finally into the 100-day average. That started peaking the market out, and now you're trying to follow through a bit further. Momentum is down. The trend has been up, higher lows, higher highs. And if the market continues down, I would, as a chartist, look for two things. Number one, the support back at wherever the 18-week average is. Resistance pretty solid right here, 122.18 to 19, the 100-week average in the upper Bollinger Band. I think pros were taking money off the table, not this week, in the past 2 weeks, and I think they're waiting on this chart for pullbacks to see what to do. TLT did a tip-off today. It broke hard enough to take out the previous low. So now you've got a higher high, lower low, making, again, the Bollinger Band and 100-week average of closes, that resistance zone. What happens in markets when you get like this, they get ahead of themselves. And I use the concept that if you're over a Bollinger Band or under it, that the market is getting ahead of itself. And right now that's serving me at least well in my chart analysis. In the dollar index, you're in a downtrend. And I realize you bounced a lot this week. I realize we're up 75 points for the week. But when you were down here, you're either going to the 100-week average or the Bollinger Band, and if you bounce, I would say the resistance is the 18-week average of closes, and that's what you got to. If the trend's going to stay down, the bears want to defend it to probably not let the market get over 96.55, about 50 points away from here. In the euro, you fell back to the 18-week average. Remember, they're like mirrors of each other. They go that way. And you've got higher lows. Now, what about this week's low? It was 114.07. So you took out this previous low of 114.24. Void of trend. The 100-week average acted as a zone of resistance. You pulled back from there to the 18-week. You're trying to come under, but you're not trending. You've got a market that's wandering. And, of course, with Brexit coming up on Monday, we'll see if there's anything there. My own expectation is that we're going to see in the pound that the EU, to keep a good partner, extend the deal. You don't have to change what you've agreed to. Push it out. Why have the March 29th? That's the most logical thing, because I don't think Miss May is going to get anything done with the opposition parties that she has in terms of a plan B that's going anywhere. Doesn't mean they're not going to do a Brexit. Higher lows, higher highs. The market finished the week out at 129.06, ever so slightly over that 18-week average, but it does give the market an uptrend. The bias is up, the momentum is up. You'd have to take out this week's lows, which can certainly be done on anything crazy with Brexit, but that's what you'd have to take out to negate the current move to the upside. In the Canadian dollar, we had gotten up last week to the 18-week average, and you ran out of momentum there. Now take a look at how this market was down. We talk about this all the time. You'll get under the Bollinger Band, you'll correct back to it. Why? Each one of those consecutive days under, in my way of teaching charting, counts as one of those 5 percentage points that where 95% of the time the market will trade within the bands. Can it go 6 or 7? Of course it could. All the charting is about, nobody has the magic thing. It's about playing the probabilities and what looks right on the pattern at that time. So now you're into a resistance area. Close over last week, not this week's high, but this high right here of 75.99.5, and you'll get people excited, I think, on the bull side, and they'll probably start talking that maybe you get into that resistance. Keep it like this and you go into your chop area. In the Japanese yen, you're in a correction mode. You do remember that about 3 weeks ago, we had that crazy blow up to the upside, and it's given all that up in spades. You got as high as 94.58.5, you're back to 91.59.5. So it came on down, and the pressure's on that. Obviously, the people that were running there, scared that the world was coming to an end again, well, they're thinking it through. But you had a number of days or weeks over the upper Bollinger Band. You're pulling back into it. Support starts at the 100-week average and resistance right up where the market got to, the upper Bollinger Band, which is from where you finished now almost 100 points higher. In Bitcoin, I still see momentum locked into the downside, lower highs, lower lows, still in the bear camp. If the market were to clear the 40.95 area, I could make an argument that maybe it's going to try to get back up to that 18-week average, and that's quite a move. That would be back to the $5,000 level, but at this point, the bears are controlling momentum in the market. It's still down. In the Brent versus WTI crude, when you look at a weekly area chart of closes, you had your big break. You went from 1066 to 687, came back and challenged the red line. Again, I'm going to call that the line in the sand, and it's paused at that number temporarily. Now, today you've got good news for the energies. Obviously, a trade deal for China and the U.S., the theory is it would create more demand. The economies would pick up, more demand for energy. And the cuts that we saw now from OPEC of 750,000 barrels and today's Baker Hughes number, where you drop 20 rigs or so, that's pretty big. So the market, will it challenge the 100-week average? What does it do there? And if it clears all this high, it might make a run up to the 18-week average. Momentum is up now. The bias is down since you're under the 18-week, and so is the swing line. When I come to WTI crude, again, divergence just like we had on the Brent. Momentum is turned up. The market has not yet cleared the last high, but I see formidable resistance in the $58 level, which is the combination of the 18-week and the 100-week moving average of closes. Gasoline trying to get its momentum to turn up. I think what a lot of traders are going to look for is clearing this 140, and I think it was 140.90, 148.90 level. You're right now pushing the 140, this week 146.77, so you're not that far away from it. Traders will start thinking spring. I know it sounds crazy, but it's how it works. And they'll start saying, how's the gasoline supplies? What's demand going to pick up like? Even though we're going to freeze and major storms coming up right now. In nat gas, You went down, collapsed to the 100-week average, didn't get to the lower Bollinger Band, which is way down here. And as I teach charting, the first rally often rallies back to that 100, or in this case, it would be the 18-week average. This was the 100, and that is your first resistance point, and the market did what I would expect. Now the question is, what next? Let me tell you what's next, because I think you'll find it interesting. This is my morning subscriber video. Try to imagine that you've plug in your computer, you're set it up, got your headset on or your speakers on, and I'm going to start talking with the charts that look just like these. More studies than you see in these other videos. I can be very clear. I can make recommendation in these because this is a subscriber video. It's completely different. And I'm able to, if you will, let loose. So what we do in these is I start off reviewing every day about 40 charts for you. And I do them by complexes. So you grab a cup of coffee, whatever you're going to do, you sit back, and maybe what you're looking to do is see, do I agree with something you see? If that's the case, it's like sitting next to each other and talking. Hey, he's got a point. Maybe that's the thing I need. And I'll throw you all this out, just like we're talking. Chart action, what I think the active or pro traders are doing, technicals and fundamentals. If there's a piece of news, you're going to get it right then and there. So we try to run with it for you. So the idea here is to throw ideas at you first thing in the morning. I begin at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. The cost? It's simple. $7.95 for the first 30 days. After that, if you like it, $15. I might even decide to lower that price from the 15 to another number. But let's see how you all like this. To sign up, you can either call my staff, and I realize it's a weekend, leave a name and number, we'll get you, and or you can do this yourself. Go on our website, just go into the area that says products or education, morning subscriber video, take it from there. I'm Ira Epstein. You have a good day.